Hey YouTube, it's a Patriotic Rottweiler out for another short video of some more work I've done on the 1910. So I had the original fuel filter housing and it always seemed to have just a little bit of a leak to it, and I never could figure out exactly why, and the real reason is because of the way it's engineered. So I have totally removed it and installed a Wix inline filter, and that is so much easier. So let me show you what's going on here, and if your tractor has this, you'll develop it at some point. You know, I use this tractor to bush hog with, if you've seen my other videos on it. And when you're out in property like I have with a bunch of trees and limbs and stuff, they go everywhere and knock into everything they can find. So I'm sure what happened is, over time, this little fitting right here, that is the input from your fuel tank, from the shutoff valve at the fuel tank. So the hose goes into that and then comes out the top. So the problem is that these little elbows are just pressed in there. They're not screwed in. So if that thing gets twisted or knocked or moved, then it's going to be, you know, you're going to have a small leak to it. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So now I've got everything all cleaned up. It is a little gummy when it's clean, but as you can see, let me get where, I don't know, it's really bright sunshine out here today, but hopefully that shows it. It's just pressed in there. There's nothing that keeps it locked in place or into the housing. So the top one is the exact same way. I figured that out yesterday. So instead of fighting with this thing and leaking and having to bleed it out, the air bleed valve at the very top up here, and the filter itself was, you know, 10-11 bucks on Amazon. I found this Wix inline filter 33012, and this information will be in the description below, and that fits perfectly right there. So here's your shutoff valve. The hose goes right to it. It basically goes with the same hose that it had before right into the fuel injection pump. Another user had pointed out that this wrench, where this wrench is sitting, this 10mm wrench, that's an air bleed. So as soon as I installed this thing, it was brand new, of course it didn't have no fuel in it, so I turned the shut-off valve on, fuel began to flow. I had that this air bleed open, and diesel started coming out. I tightened it down, and it was much easier to bleed the air out that way. I didn't have to crack open the injectors. I didn't have to mess with any of those. All I had to do was open that valve, let the air bleed out, close it, fill it up with, you know, it fills itself up with the diesel, and it fired right up. So I was quite happy with that. So that's a 10mm. If you do want to remove this existing fuel housing, it's 17mm. There's two on top right there, then there's two that hold the actual bracket, so I took the bracket off as well, and they're 17. It's right there, those go right behind, there they are, right behind the hopefully you can see it, but they go right behind where that inline fuel filter is sitting. So the only place I could even find a part number for one of these things is Messick's, and then they did not sell the top part by itself. You had to buy the whole thing, so that would be like 60 bucks, and you know, a filter is still 11. There's a couple of O-rings on this. Each O-ring is $8, $9, $10 a piece. So with all these problems, I decided to go ahead and just get rid of this part, and I mean, I'll retain it, but it's just much easier. This inline filter, we got it at O'Reilly's for like 6 bucks, and I can change that out every year, and, you know, do the bleed valve, and you'll be up and running in, you know, 4 minutes, if that. So anyway, that is the latest on the projects done with this tractor. Again, this is a 1986 Ford 1910. Check out some of my other videos. If you have any questions, post them down in the comment section below, and let me know if this helps you. All right, thanks.